Well, as if to demonstrate what the world is up against, the Chinese authorities in Beijing have issued their highest air pollution warning this year. It's that smog again. You can see photos of the thick smog all over social media. Can hardly see the hand in front of your nose on your face. Now, let's speak to Tom Burke, chairman of the environmental think tank E3G. He was government special advisor to the former Environment Secretary John Gummer and attended the Rio Earth Summit and the first of the meetings in Berlin in that role. Good morning.
Good morning.
You've been to a few conferences.
I've been to one or two, that's right.
In your time. Is it hot air, or can something substantive be achieved here?
No, I think that substantive achievements have already come from the conferences that got on. I think they're not just hot air. You have to have a conversation if you want to change things. And we're trying to make a massive change to the world's energy system to prevent climate change. And that takes a very big conversation. I admit it does sometimes feel like it's watching paint dry, but actually we've made real progress. The problem is it's not enough progress.
Is the default position of a lot of countries, though, we don't really want to do this, rather than we have to do this?
No, I think it's a bit more complicated than that, actually. The default position of most countries is we're in real trouble if we don't get on with it. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some countries that are a bit more exposed to the downside of the things you have to do to get on with it. India, for instance, Saudi Arabia. But actually, there are a minority of countries. The majority of countries actually will get better off if we do something about climate change.
So since Kyoto, do you think there has been a realization, a waking up of many politicians across the planet?
I think you're absolutely right about that. I think the real difference now between, for instance, Copenhagen and where we are today is there's a real expression of political will. We've seen that with the way people like Obama, President Xi of China, have really begun to put their own personal commitment behind it. And I think that makes a real difference. We don't have a problem with the technology of building a low-carbon economy, and the economics of it will probably be beneficial. The real problem is political will, and that's what we're beginning to see expressed.
What about the developed world? We had it good off the back of carbon, and the developing world is saying, well, this ain't fair.
There's no doubt that the developed countries have to do more and have been doing more. But you must remember that a lot of the countries that are most vulnerable to climate change, to a changing climate, are exactly those poor developing countries. So the world isn't as simple anymore as developed and developing. There are quite complex patterns. And some countries which have a lot of poor people, like India, are also got very large numbers of pretty wealthy people in them. So it isn't quite as simple as a contest between the rich and the poor.
People listening now, I mean, what does it mean to them? In the car, in the kitchen, on the way to school, on the way to work? What does it mean in terms of the flora, the attacks on flora and fauna and ecosystems and humanity and our environment in the future if something is not done? Or, in fact, if anyway, whether something's done or not?
If we don't solve this problem, what it means to people today is their insurance bills will go up for their houses as all those homes we've built on floodplains become ever more vulnerable. It means that some of our own prosperity will be affected. For our economy to grow, we need people in the cities, in the emerging economies all over the world, we need their economies to grow. And they're exactly the places that will be most hit by extreme weather events, the kind of things that a changing climate, the damage that it does. So we live in a not just in a single climate, but we live in a single economy these days. And if you hurt one bit of the economy, it hurts us directly.
And we live in an electoral cycle as well, don't we?
I'm afraid we do. And we've just seen some evidence of in this country of how that can set you back.
Go on.
Well, we've had a government basically that has been called itself the greenest government ever and has just taken a sledgehammer to what was the fastest growing bit of the economy, which was the green economy. And I don't understand why it's done that, but it's definitely a consequence of the election.
So you're in a room with George Osborne. It's Tom and George. All right. Finish this sentence. George.
The green economy is the bit that will get you fastest to the place you want to be. because that's the bit that was growing. 400,000 jobs, the most added value of any sector in the economy. That's the bit that will really generate the tax revenues you need to get the deficit down.
Well, there we are. Thank you very much indeed for those views. Tom Burke, chairman of the environmental think tank E3G. And